Great to have you with us. It's 8 a.m. here on the West Coast. Thank you for joining. Hope you have some coffee or tea or matcha or beverage of choice. I got a little brain octane in my coffee this morning, so let's hope that helps. If you're with us, welcome. We're here to talk about getting started with Trustworthy. And I'm Nat Robinson, co-founder and CEO of Trustworthy. And I have Ellen Goodwin with me. She's one of our product leads. I'm on the West Coast. She's in Texas. Got most of the country covered. But appreciate you being here with us. We have a few slides to go through initially, and then it's all demo. And then your questions. We love doing these live to get your questions live and answer them as quickly as possible and get you going. Let's get started. Let's get into it. Why did we build Trustworthy? Well, we're all dealing with this generational shift, this complexity that we all now deal with in our lives. Some people call it information overload. But this transition in the number of things that we all now have to manage across our lives. Here's a list of some of them, hundreds or thousands of different things, online, digital, and this phrase that we heard from many of our customers, it's all over the place, meaning I have all these silos of information, bits and pieces all over the place. I'm worried I'm going to lose track of something, and I'm worried that my family would not be able to find all of those things if something were to happen. That information is only increasing, the amount of things that we need to manage exponentially now with AI and generative AI. And it's increasingly digital first or digital only. So filing cabinets are becoming less relevant. There's less mail in our mailboxes. How do you deal with that? What kind of systems do you have to manage everything in that kind of world, right? That's the world that we increasingly live in. It turns out that this problem of it's all over the place has some real material costs to people. At least 51 hours a year staying on top of household paperwork. That's a pretty conservative estimate. I saw a number the other day that was 47 minutes a day managing household paperwork and staying on top of things. That adds up to a much bigger number. The amount of money that people spend when they're not on top of things, when they're behind, when something doesn't get paid or something doesn't get filed in time or updated is this crazy big number, almost $1,300, $1,268 a year. That's gotten bigger year over year, probably will get bigger again this year. But this is what it costs if you're not on top of things and you're paying these insidious late fees or penalties or overage charges, or it adds up as a, affecting your credit score. That all adds up. That's a material number. That's probably bigger than any government rebate we might get, right? So it's a huge number. How do you deal with that? And then this idea of emotional anxiety around, oh, did I do this? Did I do? I'm on top of this. I've got this thing to do. I've got to get those things for the kids. That's real, and that adds into this big deal for Americans, this number one healthcare issue now is mental healthcare, right? Trying to stay on top of everything. When we started Trustworthy 5 years ago, we looked at what people were doing. The really interesting thing was almost every family we've talked to now, thousands of families, had some kind of system, what we call a DIY, do-it-yourself system. And we said, oh, great, we should use those too. Let's see how they work. And we found they all kind of fell short in the same areas, that they obviously weren't purpose-built, that they were being bent to this use case. And people were using everything from analog systems, papers, folders, files, fire safes, etc., to all the digital equivalents. We've seen almost everything you could imagine, from I keep all my critical things on my mobile device to, I have a project management tool called Monday.com that I use to manage our household. Pretty serious, sort of enterprise tools being applied to the problem. And we found they all kind of fell short in the same areas, right? We all started with a blank page. If you had a piece of paper or a productivity tool, it didn't matter. And you had to figure out where to start. There wasn't any guidance. You couldn't, to remember the things that you might put in there or that you might have. So how could we do that? They all required you to build it and maintain it, from scratch and ongoing as things happen, as things change. We call them dumb containers because if you put information on a page or even into one of these productivity tools, it doesn't have any context for what that information is. I put information on a spreadsheet, the spreadsheet just sits there, right? Sure, it could do calculations, but it doesn't understand the information and give me feedback and say, hey, I think I can help with this. One big one actually was temporal sharing. It was the idea of like, if I made a document and I shared it with you, you could see everything in that document. I couldn't hide page 9 and say, don't look at that until after I pass away. I don't want you to see that information yet. I don't want your siblings to see that. That's for afterwards. It could be a letter to a loved one. It could be, oh, good luck, you're a billionaire now. Could be something like that, right? Like didn't want to cause a family rift. I didn't want you to have to deal with this until after the fact. So that's a big deal in estate management. And so there was nothing really that dealt with that temporality of sharing information, some now, some later, or nothing now and or later. I want you to know where to go to find it, but you don't need to worry about any of it today. A lot of those free tools had questionable security, and we knew that we wanted to build something that was private and secure to you and your family, that you were the arbiters of how that got shared, how that got made available to people, when and where exactly. We didn't want to have a business where you're like, well, this is free. What are they doing with my information? Are they selling it? Are they advertising to me? That didn't seem like the right fit for this kind of business. They don't offer any service. Service is important in some of the ways that we work with people, especially time-starved people who just don't have time to get organized and get everything set up. And with elders, where you might not live close to them and might not be able to help them do this, we have a set of people who can go do that with them, who are background checked and vetted by us and go through the platform training, trustworthy certified experts, but none of those other tools made that available. This is what purpose built the family. So in building something, we had to consider what the timing, is this a good time to release a tool like this? We've talked about some of these, but this idea of digital transformation, the great wealth transfer, baby boomers retiring and passing away, and then all that wealth, 84 trillion in wealth passing to subsequent generations, the increasing number of climate change related and intensity of climate change related events. And then we talked about mental health a little bit, this number one healthcare issue in the US today. All of those went into, should we create something and what would that look like? We ended up calling it the family operating system because it felt like the kind of thing help you operate your life, operate your household, stay on top of things, and as we like to say, rule at life. And work with your collaborators, work with anyone, your loved ones, and your trusted professionals, whether that's an accountant or a wealth advisor or estate planning attorney or anyone else that you might work with. We've seen all kinds of folks be added into systems. And we sort of touched on this, but the big use cases were, hey, look, I just want to get a bit of information. I know it's at home somewhere, but I don't want to wait. Great. With Trustworthy, I can have all my information in my pocket, quickly search it, find the bit of information, maybe the VIN number to the car. I can never remember that because it's 15 digits. So, I need to provide it for whatever reason. Quickly share that with someone. That was a big use case. People have built systems just for that. Of course, a massive use case was, if something happens to me, if I get hit by a bus, would my family know where to go to find all the bits and pieces and have instructions and be able to parse through it all and figure things out? That's a primary concern. As more and more people got Trustworthy, they're like, I love this for our household, for my family, but what about my in-laws? What about my parents? They're older. Their horizon seems more urgent than ours. What if something were to happen? What if there's some mental decline or a medical issue? Those are all real concerns. We hear about those every day. And then sometimes, increasingly now, after someone's passed away, Trustworthy is being used as a collection point. We're discovering things, we're finding things out. We need to share those with various stakeholders, siblings, other relatives, attorneys, etc. People using Trustworthy as a collection point and a way to collaborate. Excuse me, and sometimes use that information or store it to keep it in perpetuity for memory, or at least for some number of years. And then this last one is really just about the bifurcation of responsibility that's happened across households. There's so many things to manage that your spouse usually manages one set of things. It might be finances. You manage healthcare and education and vacations maybe, and they're little black boxes, right? And so how do we bring this idea of household equity? Everyone has access to the right information. They know where to go to find it. It's not sort of hidden or mysterious. So that's a little bit of an introduction to Trustworthy. We're going to demo this, but here you can sort of see the platform as it is today. On the left, we have all these facilities to help you nurture, sort of curate your system, all the things that you can do to make it easy to get your information securely stored and trustworthy, from forwarding an email with attachment. We'll grab that for you. Of course, you can drag and drop digital things in. We have if you have a snap scanner, we have an integration with Ricoh ScanSnap, so you can scan something that goes directly into Trustworthy. Lots of facility there just to curate your system, make it as easy as possible. Then the platform itself is fundamentally an advanced security platform with lots of ways to keep your information protected and private to you and your family. We have this collaboration concept where you can share information and collaborate with others, and they can contribute. Maybe your accountant is uploading your completed tax returns. Maybe your wealth advisor is sharing a statement. Maybe you purchased or sold a home, and all of those documents are flowing into Trustworthy through your realtor and your title company and whatnot. We've really built an ecosystem that supports your household. And we have a marketplace of partners and providers that can support all of that and enhance things. If you have a gap in your system, maybe you don't have a trust and will yet, we have partners who can help with that. That's all in the marketplace. A couple of years ago, we introduced some AI features that facilitate curation, meaning you no longer have to type information in to get it into Trustworthy. You just upload a document. We translate that document and sort of fill everything that needs to be filled in Trustworthy. You'll see that in action today. And then, of course, all the ways that with Trustworthy helps you stay on top of things with reminders and telling you, like, oh, it's time to renew your passport, or it's time to pay this bill, or something else needs to happen that are sort of expiration dates, or it's, hey, an annual check-in with your trust and will. Did anything change? Do you need to load assets into the estate? We help you stay on top of everything and all of the ways that you might need to use your information on a daily basis and across life events. I'll just touch quickly on this now North American network of Trustworthy certified experts, folks who can help you do this if you're time-starved, or if you have a loved one who's maybe not as tech-savvy and would like a little coaching and help. We have an amazing set of folks from these incredible partner organizations. We can talk more about that if there's questions. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Alan, enough for me. Droning on, Alan, the lovely Alan, is going to talk us through a demo and show us how Trustworthy works. Have at it.
Much appreciated, Nat, and I hope you all got some inspiration from that. Make sure you're writing down questions you have. I'm going to take you on a tour of what the Trustworthy space looks like. You all have accounts. You can sign into yours and follow along with me. That's great. And again, write down any additional questions that come up. So here we go. Let's hope that this all runs smoothly for us today. Love technology. All right. So we are here in my pretend family, the Reynolds family, and I'm going to quickly give you a lay of the land. When you sign in, over here on the left is your dashboard. This is what you're looking at. This is your home screen where you can find quick start tabs. These are things that you can complete to start setting up your Trustworthy account and getting familiar with it. And down below, you'll see an activity feed, which will become a lot more powerful and meaningful as you use it. You're going to see reminders there. You're going to see what, family and friends that you've invited in, advisors have added, and you'll be able to view all of that there. Over back on the left, inbox. This is, we're going to talk a lot about today. Why is it that Trustworthy is so powerful? If you can just get your documents into the inbox, we will help you take it from there. And that's where I'm going to demonstrate the power of the inbox. We also have a section for reminders. So Nat alluded to the fact that you had that driver's license. I'm going to show you. Then when you add the driver's license, we're going to create that person in your account. We're going to set up a reminder so that you also remember, oh, I need to go get that renewed. And then you have these categories. The categories serve two purposes. One, to inspire you. You can click in and know what types of things you should be adding to keep your household prepared. But it's also there so you can search that way. You can use our search, of course, but some people prefer to click and dig in, right? So that's what those are there for. And then, like all technology, there's an account area up here at the top right. And I will tap into a couple things about managing access. This is how we invite family and lawyers and tax accountants and all of those and give them permissions, and settings as well. This is where we're going to give very special email that is yours and yours alone to send information into that inbox that I referred to. So let's jump in. When you sign in originally, you see these example files. I'm going to tap on driver's license and show you what we're doing every time you add any piece of information into Trustworthy. So when I tap here, I add my driver's license. We're going to secure and encrypt that. We're going to say, oh, look, there's someone in your family named David. Here's all of his details. We're going to tokenize that, replace sensitive information with other numbers and letters so no one can steal it. We are going to make that available in search so you can find it again. We're going to add that link to the California DMV so it's there when you need it. You can check what documents you need and probably have in Trustworthy to renew that license. And we're going to create that reminder as well for you. So every time you put in a piece of information, all of that is happening instantly on the background for you to make it more efficient for you so you can kind of move on and add other things. Now let me show you what it looks like when I add in some information to my inbox. I'm going to drag in some sample files. Please don't be alarmed. These are not real people. I'm going to start with David's wife, David Reynolds' wife in this family. And I'm going to drag in her driver's license and pop it in here to my inbox. You see the inbox comes out and it's processing this information. I grabbed David Reynolds' back of his license by accident here. That's fine. We're going to add the front of his license too. All right, so you see that it's analyzing both front and back over here. This is what Nat referred to as Autopilot. When it analyzes this information, it's going to show, hey, here's a better name for that crazy driver's license, and here's all the details that we found. Now, you don't have to type all that in, but you can review that somewhere, you can edit it. I'm going to accept that title now while I'm here. It's much better. And I'm going to open up his spot. I'm signed in as David, so he already exists. And I'm going to say, great, I want to drag that driver's license on in here. And it's going to populate that for me, and I can accept. Great, I have my license in here. And you see now over here, I have that renewal information, that reminder automatically with a link to the California DMV. It's in 5 days. He better hurry up. I don't know. I live in Austin, Texas. There's no way I could get an appointment in 5 days. I can also drag in the back of that license to complete that. And now anytime I need that license, it's right here and I can share that. The power of sharing in Trustworthy is really amazing because I can control, you know, I'm renting a car. They need the driver's license for 1 hour. They don't need that for months in perpetuity. I don't want to send that into some email inbox that I don't trust. So I can give them a secure link. They can access it for as long as needed. I will know if they open that link and it will automatically expire and I'll get that notification too. So we make the sharing also very secure, which I know you heard about from Nat as well. Let me show you now another example of a more thorough document that you might have and what happens here. So if I drag in my vehicle registration, so I have, David has a Toyota Sienna. This is the registration card. Nat told you about VIN numbers, right? No human knows their VIN number unless you have a really great memory. So I have this VIN number. I can see the details. I can say, great, that's very useful. I'm gonna rename it. And it says, oh, didn't know you had that car. Do you wanna add it to your account? Yes, please create a page for me here in Trustworthy. And it says, oh, here you go, 24 Toyota Sienna. And I can drop that registration card in. It will automatically grab all those details, including that tedious VIN number. And I won't have to kind of fat finger that, or remember it. I can accept those details, it adds it in. If you notice what else it did, because David Reynolds is named on this registration, it also automatically connected it to David. So this gives your whole family, your advisors, whomever you're working with in this space, interconnectivity between bits of information. Nobody has to go chasing who's on this, is it populated there? It's all here, interconnected for you. We do that work. There are a number of ways to get information in. Dragging and dropping files is just one example of how we can do it. We wanted it to make it that easy so we can do the rest of the work for you. I'm going to show you a different way to get information in. Here, I'm in my Gmail, and I don't know about you, but I have a lot of information that gets emailed to me, and then it's with me only. No one else can access it in my email. I might forget about it. It's really hard to find, and I can't search for it along with all my other sensitive information. So we have a Chrome extension that I'm going to open up, and when I do so, it will automatically be able to look at this email. I pop into it, and it's like, oh, look, you have a life insurance policy. Would you like to save that? And I can choose exactly where I want to send it. I could send it directly to insurance. For this case, I'm just going to show you again what it would look like if I put it in that inbox, just for familiarity. So I'm going to say send that to the inbox, and I'm going to keep working because I want to show you another example. The Chrome extension also works. Here you see an option for screenshot. So let's say you're signed into a healthcare platform and you have medical information that you want to add, but you don't want to download, upload, etc., go through that process. You can take a simple screenshot and it will send that into your inbox as well. So I can say, I want to select my area and I want to capture just that, and I can send it into my inbox as well. So this is just saving you time from downloading, uploading, and all of that tedium. Now, when I go back to my inbox, you're going to see I have those two items waiting for me. Here's Laura's life insurance policy. It's new. I'm going to add it to her account, and automatically it creates it. I'm going to drag it on over, and it's going to populate all of the impertinent details for me again. There we go. And it even gives you the nice little logo. So double win. I can also do the same here. I can go grab this medical screenshot that I had. I can view the details, see if I like it, etc. Perfect. So that's two examples of how I can get information in the inbox or going over here from here. Now, what if I didn't want to use a Chrome extension? What if I'm not in Chrome, for example? Well, then you have another option. I actually created a contact called Trustworthy for David. If I go to my account, when I go to account settings, there's an email to inbox. There is a rather crazy looking email. You can copy that email or download a contact card. You can save this contact to your email, to your phone. You can give it to your lawyer. You can give it to your realtor. You're going to buy a house. Please copy this email on any documentation you send me, and it'll automatically land in Trustworthy, where we can organize it and grab those details for you, and it doesn't get trapped inside your inbox. But I can also use it for myself. So I already created that contact over here, and I can say I want to forward to Trustworthy David Reynolds, and I can hit send, and it's going to send that document over into Trustworthy into the inbox for me. Now, I probably shouldn't have just sent the same document as I already loaded, but anyway, that's the example. This email is very, very powerful. I use it all the time. If you ever gave it to someone and you kind of regret it later, a realtor you don't work with anymore, for example, you can always regenerate a new one, and then you can continue forward and replace that in your contacts. But it's a very, very powerful way to get information in. And here's that one that I just forwarded to my inbox. You can see that Autopilot is analyzing that. Now I'm going to switch. Any of you that enjoy using mobile app, ours works in a very unique way that I find in real life is very, very practical. I'm going to show you that I can take a piece of paper on my desk that someone has sent me, and I can go ahead and use our app to upload it. It will instantly appear in my inbox because it can be really tedious to work on a phone. We all know that. And yet the camera on the phone is really easy for us to get information into our account. So I'm going to quickly show you what that looks like when I have the magic of hopefully getting to my phone. One moment, and here we go.
While you're doing that, I'll just take the opportunity to tell folks if they have questions, please use the facility. There's a 9-dot icon in the lower right of your screen, or a grid icon. If you select that, then you select Q&A. That's a place to queue up your questions as they occur to you, and we'll have a section at the end where we can answer some of those questions.
Thank you for that, Nat. Just getting the iPhone working again. One moment, please. Bear with me.
I'll mention that while you're doing that, the email that you saw, we can forward to an email. I used that in a house transaction in the last year. We sold a home and was able to give that email to the title company, my realtor, all the inspectors. So when they emailed us something, I asked them to copy that email address on their email, so everything flowed directly into Trustworthy. And my goodness, what a time saver that was. I just created a folder under that property for that transaction, for the sale. All that documentation, all the PDFs that you get sent, and it's, I don't know, dozens, if not hundreds, get sent and straight to Trustworthy securely. So anytime I need to reference like the closing statement or the title or whatever it is, all there beautifully stored in Trustworthy. I don't have to go hunting through my email or even worry about getting it out of email, because that happened automatically. It was really cool.
Oh no, it's such a time saver. I did it recently with all things related to a health thing that was going on in the family, and it was a miracle. Like, it's all in one place. I'm like, oh, thank you, folks. And if you do have a question about that, we do have HIPAA compliance, so you can store medical information, and we're going to be enhancing that in the new year as well. But like for me, it's a really cool use case as well. Like, I can't be that person that is the one that has all the information, right? So you all are seeing the mobile app, and I am going to show you here. When you scan a document, this is just taking a really cool version of a photo. iPhone camera is not available on Mac. Oh, I thought I had this all figured out for you folks. Let's see. Okay, I can't do it on here. Absolutely. Fabulous. I thought I had this figured out from the last one. Not so. All right. Well, that was anticlimactic. All right, we're going to switch back. I'm going to do it, and it's going to arrive in the inbox. So let me just show you the inbox again, and you will see the magic of when it pops in, because I'm literally doing it on my phone. I'm going to click that share, just like I showed you, and I am going to scan it, and I am going to have you see it arrive. Oh. Let's see. Discard. Okay, here we go. Scanning. You're all seeing me look a little crazy. Here we go. Save. Perfect. Now, I scanned a Geico statement in. What the system is doing now is it's popping into the inbox. You see it there. It's analyzing my new Geico insurance information, and it's going to pull out, just like all the other docs, the key information for us. And in this case, it's going to be who it is, which vehicles are covered, who's on that, all of that information. So I'm going to say, great, let's add that. I have insurance that we didn't know we had before. It creates a whole page for me. I can drop that policy in. It's going to read all those details. I'm going to accept, and it's even going to add, oh, the cover driver is David Reynolds. Now, as I add more information in, I can add the vehicles. I can add reminders about the payment period, things like that, if they're not covered on it already. So this is another way to get information in. The inbox, the Chrome extension, forwarding it to your custom inbox, email, or using the app. There are so many ways to get it there, so we can help you organize the rest. I'm going to pause there and turn it to Nat. Nat, did you have any powerful use cases come up recently that you'd like me to highlight, or any questions that have popped in that we want to hit at this point?
You know, I have a good one. I've just been working with a new estate planning attorney to update our estate plan, and the sheer amount of information. There's a process, right, that you go through. So they ask for a lot of information up front. Do you have an old estate plan? You know, what are your assets? What is your family makeup, et cetera, et cetera. The amazing thing is, like, I was just able to invite Scott to my account as a collaborator give him access to all the things that already existed in Trustworthy in terms of family and assets and all the other things that the old estate plan that he needed to know about. So my life was a lot easier. The form that he sent me to fill out was this PDF, or his assistant sent me to fill out was, I don't know, 20 pages of like typing information. I'm like, oh, I do not want to spend time doing that. Fortunately, I didn't have to. So this is an interesting use case. He's now a collaborator in my system. When the new documents are done, he can upload them there. That's one amazing way. I do the same thing with my accountant every year. I collect all the things as they arrive, all the documents, the statements. I say, hey, Juan, they're ready to go. You can download them from Trustworthy. He takes them, completes my tax returns, then uploads the completed tax returns into the places where they live in Trustworthy. And I love that kind of collaboration with the professionals that I have. That's pretty magic.
And let me show you. So Nat just teed me up, if this is baseball, folks, for what I wanted to show you next, which is collaborators. You might have a spouse that's a collaborator or a partner, and you might give them complete access, right? You want them to help you fill this in. That's how I am. I'm like, dear husband, put your own passport in. I'm not doing it for you, right? Like, or I handle all the healthcare and insurance, health, whatever. He handles the finance. Like, we have divided and conquered. Like Nat said, I need him to input all the financial information. I'm not doing it. Like, come on, help me out here. You might have people with partial access. So if it's partial access, that means that, my daughter, she's 15. She does not need access to all of the family financials and all of that, right? What does she need? She needs her temporary driver's license, gulp. She needs her school ID, and she needs the health insurance card in case something happens. And I want her to have access to that on the go, right? So I gave her partial access. You might also give people legacy access. Legacy access is, I'm incapacitated or I have died. Now these are the people that should have access, and they would come to us with a death certificate, and we go through that process of validation. But that's how we unlock all of this vital information in those kind of critical moments. So if you have yours account open, you can follow along at the top right. When you go to manage access, this is where we can add those types of collaborators. Nat talked about a tax attorney, talked about estate, all of that. I can add someone new, and I say, okay, this is Laura, his wife, Reynolds, and who is she? She's family. So I'm going to add her, and I'm going to put in, this is her email. What kind of access do I want my wife? This sounds really weird. I need to be not David. I want to give her full access, partial access, or legacy. The beauty of partial access, and I'm going to pretend that I only need that for here, you can choose which categories of information they have access to. You can also say what pieces of information within the category. So I can actually go very granular and say, I only want them to have ongoing access to this piece of information. So you can make it as granular or generic as you need. You can change this anytime you need. You change tax accountants, you change whatever. You can then say, okay, that's all they have access to, send the invitation. They will be invited to create a free account as a collaborator where they can access this information. So that is always within your control, and we've given it very granular so that you feel very comfortable that they don't have more information than they need. One question Nat already answered that was a write-in was, give an example as CEO of how you often use this. Trustworthy yourself. Another example of how I use it on a daily basis. It's not just for big life events, house fires and floods and things like this. Working professional, you travel for work. I got a text message on the road from my daughter that said, hey mom, have you ordered my new glasses? And I was like, oh shoot. Nope, didn't order. But you put that prescription for the glasses into Trustworthy, then you can just download it, upload it to Warby Parker, and move on with your day. The alternative is texting that same, the glasses to my husband and saying, in the bottom shelf in the office in the clear bin, there's a blue folder, and then he has to go find it when he has time, take a photo, right? So it literally makes my life more efficient if I just scan it and snap it in there. So I do want to talk about those like daily use cases. It's not just for the big life moments. All right, Nat, should we hit a question or two?
Yeah, we've got some good questions here. Susan B asks, what about if my email is hacked, which has happened? Can they get into my Trustworthy account and have access to sensitive information? Absolutely not. Your account is protected by lots of things. It starts with you creating a robust password, you having two-factor authentication, which is a must. We don't let you put information into Trustworthy without setting that up. So that's mandatory, and we support all kinds of second factor, from SMS message to a key to a hardware key like a YubiKey if you have one, biometrics, of course. Those are the sort of basis of you protecting your account. Then everything's encrypted in your account. Alan mentioned that we have tokenization, which is another security layer on the security onion that we added. That's sort of proprietary to Trustworthy. It's the level of security we wanted to have to put our information in there, and it's expensive and takes time to implement. But essentially, tokenization takes all the really secure information in your account, like a social security number, and replaces it with a hash token that only you can exchange. Meaning you hold that token, you can only retrieve it, only you can retrieve the information. So there's no persistent connection between your email and your, there's no connection at all, really. When you forward something from your email to Trustworthy, email just has a receptor, if you like, which is we call your inbox. That says, okay, something arrived from email. I guess if your email was hacked and they wanted to forward something from your email to Trustworthy, they could do that, but that's the worst it would be, right?
And Nat, just to add on to that, last weekend I caught a news article out of Chicago, and folks, this was like a wake-up call, I think, to a lot of people if they read it. A couple had their retirement account hacked, and someone made a bunch of trades on it. And through those trades, they lost half of their retirement, or more than that. They lost a lot of money. Well, the company who was hacked, their account was hacked on, is only reimbursing them 50% of their losses. And the reason is the family chose not to use two-factor authentication. So they said, because you haven't done your diligence to secure your account. Now that's why, as Nat said, you can't add any information into Trustworthy unless you enable two-factor authentication. We are doing our very best to protect you.
Yeah, that's a good segue into our security in many ways. And if you have questions, we put this right at the top of the page on our homepage, trustworthy.com. You can click on security, talk about our philosophy to protecting information and keeping it private and secure. Multi-factor authentication is right there at the top of the page. Of course, we have biometrics and physical security keys. We talked about that. We talked about encryption, touched on tokenization. We redact things on your screen, so if someone's looking over your shoulder, they can't get a snapshot of the information. We talk about our approach to AI. So this is a great resource. We're as transparent as we can be about how we keep your information protected and safe. And so that's, if you want a lot of detail, then that's a good place to go. Of course, it's not just us saying it's secure. We have all these third-party validations that we've earned, essentially, and are constantly earning, that we go through these ongoing compliances, third-party compliances and audits, to look at all the controls that we have in place, to look at all the practices we have in place, training across the company, practices with employees, etc. So a lot of great information there. If you have questions about security, that's a good resource. Next question is, does it detect if an upload document is a duplicate? That is a feature that's coming soon as part of a next release that we're calling, V2 of Trustworthy. It's a big, meaningful release, and there's a couple of things that come with that. One is really automated organization. Today you saw this step where things arrive in the inbox, and then it tells Trustworthy, says, oh, I don't have a place for this, let's create one, or I do have a place for this, I'll show you where that should go. We purposefully created that step when we released Autopilot, the AI feature that sort of extracts all that metadata, because we wanted folks to feel in control and be in control. and you sort of have that checkpoint, if you like, the checks and balances of like, yes, you got this right, and now I'm going to file this. We, for a long time, haven't needed you to do that step, and we've gotten to a point where that's more work for you to do, and we want to automate this as much as possible. So now, in the next release, as things arrive in your inbox, we'll automatically organize them and put them into the place they need to go. Still expect all the metadata; it's all there and indexed and searchable. It's another way that we can help. And as part of that happening, we had to make the sort of the categories that you see there more dynamic, because there's some categories that we didn't have. The most notable one is a medical category, which is the #1 request, I think, across users today, members today. So all of that is coming in the next release, the sort of end-to-end automated organization, dynamic organization, and sort of category creation as needs dictate in your system. As you upload information, oh, we'll say this looks like a medical document, let's put it in this newly minted medical category. And then, of course, you can have more flexibility in the categories themselves. So hopefully that was a long-winded question too. Yes, in this next release, we'll be able to detect if things are duplicate. Right now, if you get duplicates, you just have to delete one. So it's a little bit of overhead, but that won't exist for very long. Okay, next question. How do I set up a scan snap to go directly? This is a great question. Oh, do you have? I actually loaded the support article for this as well, so I'm going to show it.
Oh,
if
perfect.
you go to help.trustworthy.com and search for scan snap, there is a great article here that will step you through setting this up. So you can end up, I don't think it's there on the screenshot, but you end up with a T button on your screen on your scan snap, and you hit the T, get scanned, goes right into the into your Trustworthy inbox.
I recently met someone who had a parent who had 20 years of tax returns, and the only comfortable way to get mom to relinquish all the tax returns was scanning them in. And that's what they did, was they used the scanner and they just scanned them in and then kept the physical ones for only the period legally required. So I thought that was a nice victory.
Yeah. If you don't have a scan snap, you can go to the Trustworthy Marketplace, trustworthy.com/marketplace, scroll down to the Rico scan snap, and get one. It's a great scan snap. I've had them for more than a decade. And if you have a lot of paper that you want to digitize, it's a really good solution. You can use the mobile app from Trustworthy. That's free. You can scan things in very quickly. But if you have lots of multi-page documents, that could become tiresome. So scan snap's a good solution. What section do estate docs? Katja asks, where do estate docs go into? I don't know if you have your screen up there still, but they go into the legal category. We have very specific placeholders for healthcare directives, power of attorneys, trusts, wills, and anything else that you might want to keep track of in there. Yeah, there is the legal category, and this family only has basic, well, I guess only has David's documents here, so that's where we keep them. Next question. If I get this, is this accessible to whoever I would like to access and no added price? Yeah, great question, Ricardo. We don't price around the number of collaborators that you might want to work with. It's unlimited number of collaborators. So that could be your spouse, it could be your adult children, or really anyone, your siblings, your parents, all of your professionals. There's no limit to the type and number of folks that you have. We knew this was going to be a multiplayer system from the start, that no one works on an island by themselves, or that's very rare. And we intentionally built it so that you can incorporate your whole ecosystem and have everyone play the role that they need to play and get the access they need in the moment that they need it, whether that's collaborating and helping you build across the system, maybe your spouse in a particular category like a professional, or a loved one who's a trustee or guardian for your estate who will definitely need access to the information if you become incapacitated. Edgardo asks, do we have a user guide to understand more? Yeah, we have a knowledge base and really great two sets of resources. One is a YouTube channel where there's a lot of these kinds of recordings and demos. If you go to YouTube and search for Trustworthy, you'll probably find our channel pretty easily. And then if you go to help.trustworthy.com, that is our knowledge base. We just showed the support article for ScanSnap, and so there's a lot of other things you can start there and just go from beginning to end. Okay. This one's from Anonymous. Pardon if I miss this, but once a document is in the vault, do I get an alert if it's expiring or requires an action? Yes, if that document has an expiration date, like a driver's license or passport, or maybe an annuity or life insurance, term life insurance. Yes, we extract the expiration date and automatically create a reminder for you, and we notify you 90, 60, 30 days ahead of that thing expiring. I have a passport that's expiring early next year, and I just got the alert yesterday. So now I've got the browser tab up in my browser to go renew that. So that's, and in fact, I got the link from Trustworthy. I was able to click on the link, and it took me to the place I need to go to renew. So we do that. We even do it in some cases for documents that don't expire, like your legal documents. If you have an estate plan, we send you an annual reminder to check your estate plan because things usually change across the course of a year or two, and it's a good reminder to go check in with your estate planning attorney, or maybe you need to upload a new bank account or something into your trust. So we do those kinds of automated reminders as well. Did you have something to add there, Ellen?
Yeah, I was going to give a fun recent example. My neighbor often takes care of my dog, and I have my dog's medical records in Trustworthy, and I have my garage door code in Trustworthy. And so both of them are things that I'll share on the fly with a neighbor. But I also created a reminder to make sure that I re-upload all of those on an annual basis, because like if you need to board your dog or anything like that, obviously, but they don't have expiration dates inherent on them. So you can create your own reminders too, and you can name them whatever is logical for you and set the dates or frequency if it's something monthly or daily or annual. So you can also create those custom.
And of course, you store your pets under your family IDs. They're part of the family. They have registrations, they have veterinarians visits, and receipts and certifications and all kinds of things, right? So that's where you keep pet documentation and keep track of those sort of like you have to renew your shots, right, for your pets once in a while. So great, yes. If I pass, Edgar has another question. If I pass, what will happen to my Trustworthy account with all the important docs and information? Well, what will happen is you will have invited, you hopefully would have some collaborators in there, and you definitely will have added a legacy contact. And the legacy contact doesn't have any access to your information today. But when you pass away or become incapacitated, maybe you're just unable to get documents for yourself. They go through an unlock process. Yeah, Alan's showing us how to add a legacy contact. They get an invite to Trustworthy, and so they learn what it's about and what their role is, and it's being a legacy contact. And when you pass away, they go through an unlock process that's documented on our knowledge base. Usually it means if you passed away, providing a death certificate to prove that you passed away. We contact you as the account owner to certify that you're no longer responding. There's a whole process of unlocking the account. They then get access to all that information that you've uploaded, and this is part of the reason for Trustworthy is it makes the estate transition much simpler than what a lot of people do today, which is spend a lot of time and effort figuring things out because they don't know where things are and they don't know what exists. So that is a great question. Of course, if you had other kinds of collaborators, like you had a spouse who was a full access collaborator they would already have access to all that information. Maybe they don't know exactly what you uploaded, but you could have put instructions there that they could read through and easily, transition if you had a business or if you just had assets that they weren't quite sure, what are these assets? What are these accounts? What are these things, these payments that are happening? How do they need to continue or not continue? Yeah, Alan.
And I wanted to add, I've worked a lot with after-loss professionals in my career, and one of the interesting things that I've learned from them is how they're using Trustworthy as kind of a icebreaker or conduit to get families to talk through things that are very uncomfortable. By making it tasks, they elicit information that is hard to recover sometimes or hard to motivate people to deal with. They're often talking about we can't make your 3 children argue about this. Where's the medical directive, right? Things like that. They're finding it as a stepping stone through really complicated family dynamics and emotions. So I think that making sure you have that legacy contact is the first point. They will get an email. You'll have a conversation as a result of that email. And I think it will help you kind of push yourself to make sure that hit by a bus, all the information's there.
Great. Okay, Anonymous asks, what role does AI play? I feel like Anonymous is setting up all the questions I want to answer. Thanks, Anonymous. So really, AI plays 2 parts today. One is at the front end. You hopefully saw the demo where when you bring a document into Trustworthy or a document arrives in Trustworthy, our feature Autopilot takes over and says, oh, what is this? And what relationship does it have to to things that exist? But if you're brand new, nothing exists yet. So it finds a placeholder for that and determines sort of where it thinks it should live. On the front end, you see it sort of extracts all the metadata. Yeah, click on the details there. It writes a summary of the document. I don't know if we showed you that. So it's a complex document. It'll give you a nice succinct summary. So you're like, oh, that's what this is. Sometimes it'll create a new title, suggest a new title because you've got a Xerox kind of title with date and time. And so it'll give you a better title and makes it easier to search when you're searching for documents across your system, and extracts all this metadata and will input that for you. So that's what you see on the front end. That's what Autopilot is doing. On the back end, we have what's now called an agentic knowledge graph. When we started building this, it didn't have a name, but now it's become this agentic knowledge graph. It's a fancy name for, essentially, we've created a system that understands household documents from, this is a warranty for your dishwasher, this is a letter from your insurance company, this is a life insurance policy, or this is a car insurance policy, this is a legal document, some kind of trust or what. It understands all of that, the entirety of the kind of household documents you might have, and sort of starts building relationships between those entities in your household. One of the things that's coming in this next version is a visualization of that. You kind of think it as a 3D mind map. We've seen some early versions of this, and it's really cool. But it's a way to visualize your system and sort of show you what is being mapped against each other. Ellen showed it in the demo, but when she ingested a document extracted, let's say it was a car insurance policy. Okay, these are the owners of the car. This is the car information. This is the policy information. And it's mapped all of those against the other things like the people in the system, the property, which is the car, and the insurance policy. So there's sort of 3 or 4 different entities in that equation, and the household data graph has mapped those and understands those relationships. So that's what AI is doing. I think the other question is, how are we doing it? So we have what's called a ZDR, a zero data retention policy with the LLM that we use. Means, and that was a really important part before we knew we had to have that before we set about using the sort of unlocking the compute power that comes with AI, because we never wanted to share that information with any of the LLMs, right? We wanted to keep that private and secure. So we had that from the get-go. It was hard to get early on. I think it's easier to get now. But that's a big differentiator for us, is we're not sharing your information or training any LLMs on your information. That was a no-go zone for us. The other thing is we don't use your information to train our own system. We use synthetic documents or sample documents that are, we source from the internet, essentially. Like, oh, this is or I just shared one with the team the other day that my estate planning attorney's like, hey, here's a questionnaire that I got from my estate planning attorney. It's a blank form that I need to fill out. This is useful to train our system. The kinds of questions that get asked. So either synthetic documents or just sample documents are what we use to train the household data graph. So we're never using user information in that equation either. And that was another important consideration for us. So that's how we've gone about building it. At this point, it's been working for a couple of years. It's pretty robust. And that's why we're, sort of leaning into even more automation on your behalf. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer. How do you verify that I've passed away and that the designated information is shared? Hopefully we kind of answered this. There's an unlock process that we go through. It's available on the knowledge base if you want details of how it works. If you go to help.trustworthy.com, search for unlock, I think is the way to get to that article, and it'll describe the process that we go through with multiple verification steps along the way to release the information to unlock an account to a known person. We can't do it if they're not known. If you haven't already added them as a legacy contact or someone else, we can't release information. So it's really important that you invite those collaborators to your system and give them the access that you want to have. Steve asks, when will it see the next release? We're working on it right now. Parts of it will release the automation, the audience intended automation parts and dynamic organization will release this year. And then you'll see some cool new features rolling out next year. Things like form filling through the Chrome plugin, being able to chat with your information with an agent that can answer questions about your information and get formatted responses. So one that we like to use is, hey, give me a summary of all my insurance is, the policy numbers, the renewal dates, and the premium amounts. Obviously, if we have that information, we can create a tabulated report for you and answer those kinds of questions on the fly. That's really exciting. More generative documents. And then ultimately, I'm not sure when this stuff will release, but what we call optimization, where the system is making recommendations to make your system better. Recommendations for things you might not have yet, and then optimization of things that you have. So, oh, I have a mortgage. Mortgage rates have dropped. You could save, $200,000 across the life of this mortgage if you were to refinance. Here's the pros and cons of doing that. That kind of recommendation is an optimization of the things we're looking forward to offering. But the first part is coming this quarter in 2025, and then more cool stuff rolling out through 2026. For existing users, there'll be a migration process at some point. If they want to opt into the new version, they can do that. Ellen, yes.
We have one last question, but one thing I want to also share with folks. Recently, some technology giants that we all use, I won't name them, have made changes with their AI policies and how they're using AI tools, and they didn't notify. They were just automatically enabled. I found this on my own and was very upset. So I also want to just reiterate for our audience, we're not going to be using AI within your account. It's something that you can enable or disable. You can choose, and we're going to tell you what that means for your experience, right? If you want to type it all in manually, go ahead, right? If you don't want us to help pull things out of Gmail, just let us know. We're not going to do this without your knowledge, and I think that's really, really important to how we're building too. Sorry, Nat, last question.
Yeah, well, that's a good note. The idea that my email is being used for AI training is not okay. So yeah, I encourage everyone to investigate limiting access to AI in your email accounts if you can. We should probably publish that, Alan. Like, here's how you change the access
I shared
that.
with the whole company, here's how to change your settings of what they've done.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
can't have your own personal data used in that way. And some of us feel that way. So anyway,
Yeah.
last question.
Ricardo asks, if I pass, what will happen to my Trustworthy monthly subscription? Here's what will happen. The folks who you've invited may want to sustain your account for some period of time. But if we've gone through an unlock process with them, or they've said, oh, so-and-so's passed away, we'd like to cancel again, obviously we cancel the account. But sometimes they want to sustain the account for a period of time, maybe a year, or I think the average amount of time to transition in a state is 18 months, is what I've heard lately. Sometimes much longer, sometimes a little faster. So they may want to sustain the account and your subscription for a period of time. That's a conversation we'd have with your collaborators, with the folks that you've added into your system, who will likely be using that information to transition your estate. But it's if it goes through an unlock process and they want to close the account down, we close the account down and we stop the subscription, obviously.
And there is an export feature for that information that you can take it back out.
Yeah, that's a great note. At any point, if you want to stop your own subscription and export all your data, we have an export facility under your account. You can obviously take it all with you and it's yours. We don't want to keep it. So that's something you can use at any time. Great. I think that's the end of questions, and we're a little bit over time, but that's perfect timing. Thank you, everyone, for dialing in. It's been a pleasure. Really appreciate all the great questions. If you have more questions that occur to you after this, you can always email us at support@trustworthy.com. I see a lot of those myself, but we have a team of folks who will get back to you as quickly as possible and answer your question or resolve your technical issue if you have an issue, and just try and help you out.